welcome to Grinders Live. Dean here, as well as Bobby Gomes. Bobby Gomes, of course, you know him from the People's Show, Sunday, way early in the morning, 9:30, with myself and Tim. Tim will be on later. You also know Bobby from he won $1 million. You probably know him from that. You know him from the Tournament Takes podcast that he does on Friday nights with Noto and Kirkwood, knocking out some football content. Week 11 on layaway. But we have a 10-gamer, Bobby. DFS we care about today, and today we care about this 10-game NBA DFS slate. A lot going on. A lot of moving parts. Also, it's the tournament. The in-season tournament's continuing. Going to see some fun courts once again. We'll see if that pops up. Some interesting thoughts on that. Embiid is one of the big talking points in this slate. Front half of a back-to-back for Embiid, and he's taking on your Celtics tomorrow night. It's the start of 3 and 4. I don't know if he's resting or not, but this seems like a spot where maybe he rests. But it's also, do they want to win the tournament? We'll see. Same deal with LeBron. LeBron and the Lakers tomorrow night. They're on ESPN as well against, I don't recall, but it is a front half of an ESPN game tomorrow night. What's up, Bobby? How are things in your world? Let's talk a little hoop.
It's good. Everything's going good in my world. Nice to be graced with the presence of the great Dino, the star of RotoGrinders, the savior of RotoGrinders, as some people know him. Hey, yeah, it's an honor to be on.
Is that? I don't think anybody knows me. You're just making up a moniker, but I don't know where you're going with that, but that's kind of you to say, even though I think there's a little bit of sarcasm in there, but that's fine. I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, happy to be here. Nice little 10-gamer we have here. Embiid, could be worried about him in terms of basically his Q tag, so probably bump Maxey there. It's not the greatest slate. I do kind of like it from a tournament perspective. I think there are some injury situations like we need to kind of monitor. You can get into those when you do body parts in a sec. Happy to be on with you. Don't take up all the usage, and let's kick this slate off. Let's get in depth.
I'm good to defer. I don't know. Do I take too much usage? I'm perfectly fine deferring. I can play that role. I can do a little Halliburton. I can dish as well. I'm perfectly fine setting you up. Yeah, as far as the body parts, not going to run them all down. It's a 10-gamer. We'll kind of knock them out as we go game by game. But the big one, of course, I think the big one is Embiid. He's got that hip, and we'll see. LeBron has a calf. He's questionable as well. We know Trae Young is officially out. I believe he had a child, so congratulations to him and his family. Steph Curry has already been ruled out. He's got a knee. Some of the San Antonio guys are already out. Big body Keldon Johnson stopped playing. I think Sohan is questionable, last I saw. Herb Jones is still questionable. And let's see. Charlotte. Brandon Miller is questionable, as is Gordon Hayward. And they're already thin as is. And it would be really ugly if both those guys are out, even one. This is their last game before Bridges comes back from his 10-game suspension. Theoretically, supposedly, according to the coach, he's pretty much ramped up. Again, we don't care about that until he plays the next game. But this is Charlotte's last game until Bridges arrives back for Charlotte's. Big picture-wise, as far as this slate, anything you're seeing that's worth note, the absence of Trae Young opens up some stuff for Atlanta. They're kind of popping a bit against Detroit. I was just running some optimal stuff, and way too many guys were jumping in my very first lineup. I would not play 5 or 4 Hawks, I don't think, in a tournament lineup, but maybe 3. Sure. But anything you want to say as far as the slate overall? We have the first ever meeting of Chet Holmgren and Wembanyama. That should be a lot of fun, right? All that length going up against each other. Will be a little bit more exciting, but San Antonio is fully ready to go, but they are dinged. So they're an 11 total at this point. 11 total. 11 is the line. OKC, pretty big favorites. Anything else you want to mention before we kind of fully dive in? Obviously, we're pretty loaded when it comes to this slate.
Yeah, so obviously the Embiid news is huge, and also the Charlotte news, Hayward, Miller, midday downgrades. Never a really great situation, right? When you get the midday downgrade, you have that fish midday, and you're getting downgraded. It muddles up the slate a little bit. So that's kind of where I'm interested in. I think an injury that's going to get lost in translation is the Herb Jones situation with the Pelicans, and I think Larry Nance is out too. So that's one later on in the slate that I think we can watch out for. We also you hit on Atlanta and everything there. So yeah, ready to dive in, Dino. You're on mute, Dean.
Geez, bad job by me. I was hitting a couple buttons and I forgot to go back on. I didn't say anything very important. Let's fire it up. Let's go game by game. The very first game we got is my Miami Heat. They're in Charlotte. 222.5 is the total. How many 7:00 games do we have? I think it's 3. It is 3. This is the first of 3 7:00 games. I think we're supposed to play some players at 7:00. I like sometimes to wait if we can and buy myself some time for news. Miami is getting healthier. Obviously, Hero is still out. Martin's still out, but Richardson expected to play. Charlotte mentioned them being dinged. No Rozier. He's got that groin. Bridges, well, we haven't seen him yet. We'll probably see him next time out. And Miller and Hayward are both questionable. Both guys that would get a fair bit of run. So it's kind of tricky to talk about the Charlotte side. As far as Miami, Adebayo, Bam has been absolutely smashing. His price is up, but it's pretty justified. The matchup here against Charlotte is certainly appealing as well. 9K on DK. We've seen in years past where Bam was like 6'8", 6'9", 7s, 8s. He's 9K, not messing around on DK. Butler at 8.6, not getting as much ownership. Fantasy points are down for Butler this year. Usage at 23%, 1.03 fantasy points per minute. Not very good for Jimmy. Emo Jimmy off to a slow start this year, but Bam at 1.36 on the season. Yeah, how much are you prioritizing this Miami side? You got to figure one of those two probably gets there against this Charlotte team. Really good matchup. And I guess we can jump over to Charlotte, but it's a bunch of like if-then stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a bunch of if-then stuff. For me, it would be Bam and probably Bam only. Like you said, Jimmy hasn't been as active in terms of usage, so it's a good matchup for Bam. He's crushed Charlotte in the past. We always want to get to our centers versus the Hornets, so it's easily Bam on the Miami side. And on the Hornets side, like I liked Hayward and I liked Miller a good bit, and then they get downgraded. In terms of like where I'd like to go there, I don't know if I want to play ball versus Miami. It's also like a guard that you're paying up for. It's a 7 p.m. start. I think I like other guards in the slate. If Embiid's out, I'd definitely prefer Maxey, I think, versus Indiana, just in the same like window of in the same starting time window. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Maladon gets a bump. I mean, yeah, Black, I guess, would kind of see usage. Are those the two that would get the biggest usage increases?
Well, I'm trying to think minutes wise, right? Like Ball's going to play 35-ish. Hayward's got 33 to go around, 31 for Miller. And like, where would they go? Maladon would grab some more. Like, you're not playing Ish Smith, but like he would get some more. Maybe McGowan's, but like, I don't think I'm playing. Thor is kind of a big. Maybe Thor gets a few extra minutes if Miller doesn't go. But none of it's great. I would have to see what their starting lineup would be. I'm curious how that would look because we currently have Miller and Hayward starting. It wouldn't be Richards. It'd probably be Thor starting. And yeah, I don't know. Stay tuned. I really don't know. they're just so thin. They're not very deep. There's not much going on there. And like if this game is close, Ball. He's expensive, but if both those guys are out and somehow they stick with Miami, not that Miami isn't great this year, but they're just so thin. There's a ceiling there for sure. I agree with your thought that like Maxey is better if Embiid's out. I just pulled up the if-then stuff. We have a couple if-thens on the sites, and one of them is if Embiid's out, Maxey, we would have him projected against Indiana. We'll talk about this in a second. For 37 minutes and 55 DK points as a median projection. That's if Embiid's out. It's a big if. 52, Fanduel. Harris would spike up as well. We'll talk about Paul Reed. We'll talk about Melton. We're expecting Covington to jump in the lineup in the absence of, Oubre, who got ran over, which some asshole ran him over and hit and run. But I don't think caught the dude or not. But, yeah, he's, I guess he's going to be fine eventually, but pretty terrible situation out there in Philadelphia. Yeah, it's kind of a wait and see on Charlotte. Hayward's been good this year, by the way. Like I was waiting for him to kind of fall apart, and like he's been good so far fantasy wise. So I guess he's in play, but he's also 7-4. Like, could you play a 7-4 Gordon Hayward on a 10-game slate?
Like I said, I liked prior to like the midday downgrades. I was in on Hayward. I was in on Miller. I think the guy that if they both were to sit, Mark Williams would probably be my favorite. I don't think I would. I think I could play the Hayward for 7. That would pretty much be it. His matchup is actually pretty good in our defense versus archetype tool, versus Jimmy Butler, who used to be a quality defender. Maybe he's not anymore, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'd prefer Hayward if he played, or get some shares of him. There's not much I love on the Charlotte side, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I don't love it either, especially if, obviously if Miller and Hayward go. If they don't go, like there's going to be some value there that it's probably going to be stuff that I'm going to look at and maybe not feel great about, but you got to play 5 dudes, and there's a lot of cheap guys that are going to fill in some minutes, and they're not going to get shut out. So maybe we'll revisit it if we get, some more information on that. Or if nothing else, crunch time we'll talk about. This is a 7:00 game, so that news will break theoretically, if not on our show, on the crunch time show. You got Roth, you got Tim, you have Keith Eyster as well. The second game is Indiana at Philadelphia, 241. That's a monster total. 241 versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a 5-point favorite here. Embiid's awesome. He's been better this year than he was last year. He's taken another step forward in the absence of Harden. The matchup versus Indiana is good. It's just a matter of salary. Jokic is also in this slate, and Jokic is outrageous, and he's taking a step forward as well, fantasy point minute wise as well. You can't get them both. You certainly can't get them both on Fanduel. If you do it on DK, like you're really going to be squeezing some pennies later on. Probably not advisable. Philadelphia versus Indiana. Let's start with the Philadelphia side. Let's assume that Embiid is in. How much do we like Embiid?
If Embiid is in, he's my favorite play on the slate, bar none. Pace up spot versus Indiana. He's really good spot in terms of front court. Just him getting to the hole. Like, I'm not really that afraid of Turner, right? Maxey, if Embiid was out, would probably be like a top 5 play for me on the slate in that situation, just because he's taking up so much usage. And then I would also add in Melton. I would add in Harris. I think if I had to rank them, it would be Maxey, Melton, Harris. If Embiid is out, that's basically the order I would go. For value, Rocco is popping as like the best value play on the slate. For me, I'm going to come in a little under on Robert Covington. I think that's the way to approach it in tournaments. Definitely going to play him, not fully fading him. This is NBA. But yeah, I'll probably be under the field or right around it in terms of Robert Covington with the whole Kelly Oubre situation. He slots in as the best value,
which is uncomfortable on a 10-game slate.
Yeah,
I don't want to be over. I don't want to be over the field on Robert Covington. Like, he's a 3-and-D guy that I don't know how big our sample is. I want to see what his usage is so far this season. It's 9% usage. It's just terrible. 0.81. Yeah. Like, he can grab some boards. He's a good stock guy, right? He's capable of hitting a 3, and we're not even certain how many minutes he's going to play, right? We're expecting him to start. I think we're giving him like 24 minutes. We're giving him 27. By the way, we're going to circle back on Charlotte. Miller and Hayward both just ruled out. So it's going to be Charlotte nonsense. It's going to happen. We'll see. But we go. I want to see what projections update for that. But certainly something, I think, is going to rise up and like at least be interesting as far as a cheap piece on the Charlotte side. We'll see what that starting lineup looks like. But I'm guessing Thor probably starts. Who else would they start? They don't have like much. Like there's not much there. I don't know. Washington, Williams, Ball, Thor, maybe Maladon, Gallons.
I think it's Maladon. I think it's Maladon personally. I could be wrong. Black, Maladon or Black. It could be Black.
Yeah, I didn't know Leaky Black was a person until I started like digging into Charlotte earlier today. I don't know much about Leaky Black, but okay, we'll see. We'll revisit. We'll see what their starting lineup is. We're probably not going to get that for what it's worth, but I guess the crunch time crew will get it. And you mentioned if Embiid happens to be out, Maxey 8-9 on DK. By the way, Fanduel price 10-1. 10-1. He dropped a 50 burger. It was the last game. I believe it was last game. Yeah, he dropped 50 on this very team, on the Pacers. Just absolutely annihilated them. Yeah, he would be the best big spend, I think, on this slate if Embiid is out. Yeah, we'll wait and
I'm hoping
news.
I'm hoping Embiid plays. I just think I want to as much Embiid as I like. He's definitely my favorite stud on the slate if he's in.
Yeah, somebody in chat saying, "Where's Will?" He would know. Yeah, Will is a big Hornets guy. Yeah, I don't know. He might have a thought. He's, you know what it is? He's probably hanging out in the prop shop on the Discord. You guys don't know if you're into such things as Underdog and those types, Prize Picks. There's other conversations as well, but there's a lot of conversation revolving around that in the prop shop, in the Discord channel, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Some of our Discord channels, most of them are free. That happens to be one that is free. Feel free to check it out there. Oh, there you go. I guess Underdog has already said, according to the chat, that JT Thor is starting. We got that one right. We'll see what the rest is. Okay, so Thor is going to start for Hayward. Yeah, they don't know I don't know who's starting for Miller, and maybe the Hornets don't know either. But we'll see. Stay tuned. But yeah, the Thor one was kind of the easy guess. Okay. Other pieces beyond Philadelphia, just sort of stay tuned, right? If Embiid's out, Paul Reed is going to just spike up. And I guess I should go back to the if-then stuff as far as our projections. We do have that projected out. He's, 3.5 on DK. I want to say he's basically a 4-1 on Fanduel center and center only. So there's an opportunity cost over there. But we would have him for 31 Fanduel points, 29 DK points. Melton will be a solid value, a really good value on Fanduel, where his price is cheaper. Or just kind of how it works. Yeah. He looks good at 31 fantasy points. Harris will be 43 and 41 respectively, DK and Fanduel. But yeah, there will be value galore on Philadelphia. How about the Pacers side? Indiana, Halliburton this year, fantasy points are up. The assist rate is up. It's all up. I don't know if there's much else to get excited about Indiana. Turner, I think Turner becomes a much better play if Embiid doesn't go. If Embiid goes, I probably don't play him. If he doesn't, I love Turner as a run back. What say you?
Yeah, it would be Halliburton and Turner for me. Like I think like you can consider getting to those guys. It's just with the vastness of the slate. Like I'm not trying to really pin myself down to either one of them. Yeah, that would pretty much be, that's it. I don't have any interest in the Indiana side. In terms of like everything else, I think we've pretty much covered it, right? Like Maxey's becomes a really, really strong play on DK. Yeah, that's pretty
the best
much
play, right? The best play?
The best play, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say the best play on FanDuel, a good play on FanDuel, but you're just paying, the prices are just better on DK when you're looking at Maxey specifically. By the way, officially announced that Covington is going to start for Batum there with for Philadelphia. Okay, let's move on.
Paul Reed stands out from a matchup perspective too, versus Indiana. So if we get him, yeah, he becomes a really strong value.
People are always trying to make Paul Reed happen. There was thought that he was going to play alongside Embiid. I think they were teasing that a little bit, and I was going to call it spring training, preseason. But we haven't. I don't think we've seen that much at all this year. Just 0.99 fantasy points per minute, which feels a little bit low for him. But last year was higher, and the sample obviously is not very huge. But it wouldn't need that many minutes. We wouldn't need that many minutes to pay off that salary. We would again project him for about 30 or so if Embiid happens to take a seat. The last of the 7 o'clock games here, Bobby. It's another one, man. We can't. I don't think we can skip the 7 o'clock games, right? Atlanta taking on Detroit. We mentioned before that Trae Young had a baby. Congratulations to him. So he's not going to be playing basketball tonight. Detroit is still beat up a little bit. No Jalen Duren. We are expecting Bagley to continue to start here. A lot of stuff was popping for Atlanta earlier, rightfully so. The absence of Trae Young, as far as their star, DeJounte Murray looks really solid. Even some of the secondary players, tertiary players for Atlanta look pretty good. Got a little revenge game there for Sadiq Bey. He's pretty cheap. I wonder where this stuff's going to go when everything settles. But and ownership's going to change. But as of like 2 hours ago, Bey was looking at a guy that was going to be like 29% owned, Hunter at 22% ownership, Bogdanovich at 39. Like, this can't continue with all the news coming in, but they all look good though, math wise. Your thoughts as far as the Hawks versus Detroit?
Yeah, Bogdanovich is probably my favorite value play on the slate prior to all this. I still feel like I'll be overweight towards Bogdanovich, especially if his ownership dips a little bit. In terms of Bay, Hunter, and Jalen Johnson, I thought Hunter was probably likely bad chalk. So he was someone I was under on. In terms of Murray as well, like I just figured we would get news and I would prefer like a Maxey. I don't want to say I'd prefer Maxey with, I think Maxey is closer to Murray with Embiid even in. I just don't really love Murray. I know it's a great spot for him. I know it's definitely a usage bump. But in terms of like ownership, I think even if Embiid was in, I still think Maxey's close to Murray. So yeah, I don't know. Bay, I think he's at 4,300 small forward, power forward eligibility. He's someone I don't mind in larger field GPPs. Jalen Johnson, I don't love because I like a lot of people in that range. Zach Collins, for example, Nick Claxton. There's a bunch of different guys. I think I could play in that salary range. So yeah, and Okongwu's price hasn't come up at 4,500. I like him a good bit as well from the Hawks side.
Even for Okongwu over Capella, it's always tricky trying to figure out who gets those 48. They're going to almost definitely split the 48 center minutes. We currently have a projected 25 Capello, 23 Okongwu. But like there's certainly scenarios where Okongwu can grab a few extra and get 26, 27. And if he gets some against Bagley, and I don't know, he seems like somebody you can take advantage of for sure. Against James Wiseman, right? Wiseman is just horrific defensively. So, yeah, he's probably going to cross paths of both those guys, both centers. So I like the matchup there inside the absence of Durant. I think Ausar Thompson is going to be mostly on Murray, which is a little bit troublesome because he looks like a spectacular defender so far. Not that I wouldn't play Murray, but like, slight hit, as far as a specific matchup. I'm guessing that to be true, but we haven't seen this before. Thompson, obviously a rookie. But, yeah, Detroit side, I think Thompson looks he's just like been great defensively, great rebounder, great stock guy. He's not a great shooter. I kind of sort of compared him to Draymond the other day, like just sort of like in that mold of just like he just sort of looks like that kind of player. Good defensively, can do all the little things. Tough, good stock guy, good board guy, but the shooting is not spectacular. Maybe it gets there at some point. He's still really young, obviously. What do you have as far as the Pistons?
Yeah, Thompson at 7-1 would probably be my favorite play from the Piston side. Like you said, like does a little bit of everything. It's a pace-up spot. He's going to get DeJounte Murray. Yeah, he's going back and forth with him, but still like him for some steals. I think he'll get boards. So Thompson's the one Piston that I'm currently prioritizing. I mean, maybe you could play Alec Burks at 4-6, shooting guard, small forward eligibility. I don't hate it. I do like Thompson though at 7-1. If he'd ideally be my favorite. Isaiah Stewart has power forward center eligibility like the Chalk and Robert Covington, so you can make a case there. I'm not playing 8K for Cade. Just haven't seen it from Cade. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Not too much from the Pistons.
Yeah, I don't hate Cade as a run back, but I hear you. If you think he's a little bit overpriced, I'm not going to argue with you. And Atlanta probably becomes a little bit better defensively in the absence of Trae Young, if you want to do that math. Burks, it's really hard for me to play Burks on a 10-gamer, but what are we rolling out tonight, Bobby? How many laps are you making?
I'm making 150, so yeah. He's hitting some
so you think
stuff.
Burks is going to be in the pool for you? Are you messing with
him and Thompson? Yeah.
You messing with Bagley at all, or it's just enough?
Well, this was also prior to all the news that we got, right?
Yeah,
we did get a ton of news. So just in terms of, no, I'm not playing Bagley. No.
whatever you had 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, throw it away. It's worthless now, Bobby.
Throw it away. Yeah.
You wasted your time. Who could have predicted that this would happen in the NBA? But we do have an update. Let's just go back. I'm curious what our projections are for Charlotte. Let's see. We're giving 35 minutes the ball, 35 to Washington, 31 to JT Thor. He's not a great fantasy point minute player, 0.66 in the season, 10% usage. So even if he plays 31 minutes at 4.2K, we're only projecting, as a median projection, 21.5 points. That's like not even, it's not brutal, and he certainly can exceed that, but that's not like you got to jam that in. We're giving 28 minutes to Mark Williams. Maladon, I think you were saying Maladon, you think is going to draw the start. We're giving 28 to Maladon. 4-4, we're giving him 25 fantasy points. So, again, point guard only. He's not been great fantasy point minutes on the season. Williams has been really good, 1.24. The matchup's not good, obviously, against Bam on the inside. McGowan's 24 minutes. Yeah, Richards, he's backing up Williams. It's basically an Atlanta situation where they chop the center minutes. Leaky Black getting 18 minutes in our current projections. So really nothing like amazing. Like it's just dispersed in so many different ways, right? Even if Thor gets 31, he's fine, sure. Maladon's fine, but not stuff you have to jam in, as far as I can tell. Is that the way you see it?
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it too. I'm just waiting for the projections update from RG.
It just did. That's what I was reading, Bobby. That's what
I know that's what you're reading, but I just, on my end, like I just couldn't see everything because it was just, I was at like 98 lineups and it hadn't fully loaded. But no, I know you had talked about you'd pretty much hit on all of it.
Yeah. Interesting. And like that's obviously no official lineup and things can change, but all right. Anything else as far as Atlanta, Detroit that you want to stress?
No, Bogdan Bogdanovic, I think, is currently my favorite value in the slate. In Sadiq, I would prefer to like the DeAndre Hunters and guys like that.
Is Sadiq Bey vengeful? What do we know about his character? We know anything about him taking on his former team here in Detroit?
I would guess he is. I don't know anything about him personally, but the name Sadiq, I don't think you want to mess with a guy named Sadiq, you know? So I think he's a vengeful guy. He sounds like a vengeful cat, Dean.
In the chat, Michael, I know, is a Detroit fan. You tell me. I'll take Michael's word for it. So Michael says, it's funny, right on cue, he's typing. Appreciate that. It says Bay calls himself a villain. He's embracing the villain role. Does he get booed in Detroit?
He's embracing the heel. Let's play some Bay. How do we fade Bay? How do you fade him?
It's a 10 gamer.
Yeah, maybe you should fade Bay.
All right, that's interesting. I kind of liked him earlier today, and he was in the mix for me. But like you said, all this news changing, everything shuffling up, all new pieces falling. We're still kind of figuring out on the fly. That is the 7:00 games. Let's move on to the 7:30 games. First one we'll talk about is, should we not talk about? We're not going to get that news anyway, right? I was going to say San Antonio OKC, but we're not going to get San Antonio. Their news is always just like nonsense, and they'll let you know what they want to let you know. But all right, yeah, 238.5 is the total. San Antonio in OKC. 10 points is the line. The Thunder, pretty heavy favorite here. As far as San Antonio, there's no Keldon Johnson. There's no Trey Jones. Two pretty key pieces to their rotation. And Jeremy Sohan is questionable. Do we have an if-then for him? We have some if-thens, but we don't have them for everybody. You can't build them all out. We do. Okay, good. We'll talk about him. So you know who's popping if Sohan is out? We might have 3K Devontae Graham season, 3K on DK. He's projected to get 26 fantasy points if and only if Sohan is out as a median projection. So that would be really useful. He's also shooting guard eligible, not just point guard. So let's assume for now that Sohan is in. Are you buying into this narrative of the first time meeting ever, Wembanyama versus Chet Holmgren? Seems like a fun game to watch for sure. Do they get any extra minutes? I have no idea. Do the players get up for it? I have no idea. But it's also the in-season tournament. I mean, you don't need any more motivation than that. The players, I'm sure are psyched about it. For what it's worth, by the way, it's funny I mentioned it on the OKC because OKC is essentially already been eliminated. They're 0-2. So Like unless something really goofy happens, it's a round robin style. If they go 3-2, they got to win by like point differential. But they're essentially eliminated. I think them and was it Washington? There's somebody else that like looks like they're also eliminated already. If you're 0-2, you're in trouble. Yeah. So San Antonio. Let's assume Sohan is in. How do you feel about the Spurs?
Yeah, so the Spurs, basically assuming Sohan is in, just kind of get spread out. Like I'm not really buying into the whole I'm not buying into the Chet Wemby whole situation. I probably won't have a lot of those guys. It's more just the cheaper guys. I don't know. For me, like it's like this is gonna sound disgusting. Would you consider Seti in this spot?
I don't think so. Why should I consider him? Sell me on it.
Just small forward, power forward eligibility. He's cheap. Maybe this game blows out. You said they obviously no one really cares about this tournament, but I don't know. I could just see him getting some run. Outside of that, like Vassell, we have news on Vassell, correct?
Yeah, Devin Vassell is good to go. Yeah.
I like Vassell a good bit. Outside of that, like not a ton from OKC that I love. Who are you interested in on the OKC side?
So there's 11 players in the Spurs available as far as I can tell. It's possible it gets knocked down to 10 if Sohan doesn't go. So if this game does blow out, like, I'm just trying to think who would be forced into playing like mop-up duty. Like, but they have Mama Skidishvili. He would probably be a mop-up guy. Champagne, Bassi, the backup center, probably Jetty, and definitely Devontae Graham. Like I wouldn't be Collins, it wouldn't be Wemby, it wouldn't be Vassell, wouldn't be Branham. Just again, it's just a thought. And these are 10 gamers, you're trying to hope for maybe an extra few minutes out of Jetty, but he is Stone Min, essentially 3-2. Okay. Probably only if Sohan's out would I consider Jetty. I love SGA on the other side as far as OKC, but depending on how other things fall, I would certainly have Maxey ahead of him if Embiid doesn't go. I have SGA probably ahead of him. I think Ball, if you want to tell yourself a story, like if Charlotte does hang with Miami, either Miami is like really just not shooting and it's like a 92-93 kind of game and it's all nonsense, or, Ball is just going nuts, right? As far as ceiling. Because he's going to have to do a lot tonight for Charlotte very clearly. OKC wise, let me see ownership, and I guess we're not going to get a new batch of ownership anytime soon, are we? They're probably working on it right now, but I don't think anybody was going to be terribly heavily owned on this underside. I don't believe so.
My numbers just ran. They were glitching. Yeah, Devontae Graham becomes a really good play. Malachi Branham, and then Sohan if I had to rank the guards. Zach Collins was someone who was popping super hard for me earlier in the day. And now we get a ton of news he's not popping as much. I'm still going to play Sochan. And like I said, in large field stuff, Chetty at small forward, power forward, if he sees run for whatever reason, he was hitting earlier. So I don't mind playing some Chetty as just a flyer throwing in large field GPPs.
That's the way I kind of feel about this game. I don't think anything is a priority right now. I like SGA. Is he my favorite? My favorite. I have one big spend on the slate. It's probably not him. I'm definitely not going to talk anybody out of it. The matchup is certainly awesome as well. I think are they on the front end? No. Okay, so here the teams that are on the front end of a back-to-back. Nobody's playing the back end. So this is only front end stuff. Atlanta, Philadelphia, Orlando, Dallas, Portland, the Wolves, and the Lakers. So it's an island game for OKC, but you can certainly see like a spot where we've seen SGA rest a couple times this year, at least once. Maybe they don't force it if they're up 15, with like 6 minutes to go, that kind of thing. Maybe he doesn't get his full minutes. And it feels like OKC's going to hit them pretty hard, this Spurs team, but you never really know. It certainly can stay close. If it stays close, I think, Holmgren is interesting for tournaments. A run back as far as Wemby, but it's all like tournament stuff and the kind of large build stuff. I don't think I'm getting there right now. May change, but we'll see. Anything else you have as far as the Spurs and OKC? And again, if Sohan is out, it looks like Devontae Graham would be an awesome play. And for what it's worth, we have Jetty Osman playing 24 minutes and getting 18 fantasy points as a median score if Sohan is out today. I think he would obviously become more interesting if that news breaks that way.
Yeah, Graham at 3K allows you to really get one of these studs if you want to get Embiid, if you want to get Jokic, if you want to get Luka, depending on like where you want to go. So yeah, I feel like he's my favorite. He would be my favorite play from the San Antonio Spurs currently.
Have we seen Graham like play much basketball at all this year? Like this is a guy who used to play 25, 30 minutes, used to run the point for several teams, a competent fantasy, just, collector. Okay. He's played 12 minutes this year versus the Pacers. And, I feel like if he gets run, he gets fantasy points, especially if it's like ugly, if the game is a blowout, he would definitely revel in it because this is what he used to do. And he probably misses it. He probably misses running an offense. And, I bet he can still do it to some degree. So, I would feel really good about Devontae Graham on a 10-game slate if we happen to lose Sohan, assuming like we get the 25 minutes or so, give or take. Do you want to say what's up to the chat? We have not officially said hello, although we've communicated with them. Join the conversation. Whatever we're talking about, by all means, feel free to join it. This is your show as well. Also, hey, since you're here, why not hit that like button? Yeah, subscribe, turn on the notifications, do all those things that help us continue to do these shows. Let's see. Anything you keep an eye on the chat there, Bobby? If anything interesting,
I'm in chat. I see Eric in chat. He's going to be. Did you give him $20 for the list today? Where did you go with that?
I did not. We never had verbal agreement on that.
The list is like your show sheet, and you're just like totally poo-pooing the list and the $20. I feel like it's very mean to Mr. Eric in chat.
Well, I appreciate it. I should pull it up on the fly. He does send me a DM, and he gives me the secret plays that only Eric is on. And he's, as I say that, I'm reading he's in chat saying Reggie Jackson revenge game, which is not something that I've considered. I don't know if it's something you've considered.
It's not, but if Eric says it,
well,
I'm a big proponent of the list. They have you send it to me every day.
I mean, he said P-Ryan was a good play yesterday too, so we got to call him out in that when it didn't work, right?
He said P-Ryan was a good play?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Although I did bet P-Ryan over on receiving yards, and he got there in the last drive. That was beautiful. I'm enjoying this. So
P-Ryan got it. You should be congratulating Eric. He got, you know what I mean?
He wasn't a good DFS play. It was a good bet.
He got you some dough, though.
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Magic. The Magic take on the Brooklyn Nets. 218.5 is the total. Magic are 3-point dogs here. As far as who is in and who's out in this one, this is also 7:30, right? Yeah. Okay. So Lonnie Walker, he's going to play. Ben Simmons probably going to be out for a while. He's got that hip. And Cam Thomas is not playing basketball tonight. He's got an ankle. As far as Orlando, some value there, a little bit of value there, theoretically, without Fultz, but I guess it's all kind of adjusted price-wise. Wendell Carter, WCJ, still out. Gary Harris, also out for what that is worth. Not a lot. I don't think it's worth a lot. The Brooklyn side is a little bit more interesting to me than the Orlando side. You tell me, but I'll let you go first. You go ahead and tell me what excites you. If anything, you can just say full-on pass. Like it's just kind of
a full-on pass for me outside of Nick Claxton. But now we got a ton of news, so like not really sure where Nick Claxton's going to fall into my script. But I thought it was a pretty good spot for him just because you have to deal with the length of the Magic. So he's around the Zach Collins price tag. But yeah, it's just a throw-in, if anything.
I'm pulling up the last game. They were playing him in spurts, right? We're giving him 28 minutes. We've seen him play more. We've seen him play 29, 28, 30, 31, 32. It's happened, but that was just he's just one game. It's just one game of the season, right? Yeah. He played 27 minutes last time out. He can also 4 or 5 blocks is certainly in the cards. A double-double is certainly in the cards for him. So yeah, I don't mind him either. I think Cam Johnson is too cheap as well at 5'4", power forward only, but 5'4" seems like a pretty good price on the season. Cam Johnson, as far as fantasy points per minute, it's down at 0.78. I think that's going to improve. I don't think it's going to stay there. 23% usage as well. And I don't mind him as just kind of like a last man in, that kind of thing. You said
I was going to say I was going to say Cam Johnson too, but I just didn't know where he fell based on the news that we got with Charlotte and all that other stuff.
What are you seeing?
5'4". No, nothing. I'm just in terms of like, just in general. Bogdanovich is 4'9". I think Bogdanovich is by far the best value play on the slate. So like, I feel the same. Cam Johnson, if you like him as the last guy in, you can use him, but he's not someone I'm prioritizing.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm okay with it. I'm not going to like break it. If I'm making a lineup and I hand build my stuff, right? Basically, mostly I would say, if he's the last guy and that makes everything else work, I'm not going to blow that lineup up. I'm just going to go ahead and run with it. Orlando, I like Banchero, but he's priced where he should be. He's another player that's just perfectly fine. Suggs is okay at 5'9", but he's probably priced where he should be. Same deal with Anthony. I'm okay with Franz Wagner, but I don't think I'm paying 7.3 for him. I only make so many lineups. Did you say you're talking about Brooklyn? Is it the whole game? You're not into Orlando at all?
No, I have no interest in Orlando. I guess people are going to play Jalen Suggs. Enjoy. I'm probably not.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, we did have a decent ownership, 13%. But again, this ownership stuff is stale. It's going to get refreshed. They're working on it right now. This is as of 2 hours ago, and certainly, news has broke. Things have changed. Speaking of news, has there been any news in the last 15 minutes or so on the interwebs? No, nothing else that is worth talking about. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, Dallas. Dallas at New Orleans, 239.5 is the total. Dallas is a 4.5 point favorite in New Orleans. We don't really know as far as Herb Jones. Herb Jones is questionable with the leg. So we'll see if he plays or not. Obviously, New Orleans is still without a lot of their guys. We haven't seen Alvarado all season. We haven't seen Murphy all season. McCollum's still dealing with that lung, and then Nance being out. This is like sort of like a, how Bobby, you're kind of the hand in the dirt guy for us in the football show.
Yeah.
What's the comp for that? Is it hand on the court? I never heard anybody talk about it in that terms, but just
hand on the court. Yeah, I guess hand on the court could work, I guess. Hand on the rim, I don't know.
Yeah. Can you get rim? I can't get rim. I never could get rim. Could you get rim?
I could get rim, yeah. You can't get rim?
No, I mean, with like a ladder, if you lower it a little bit.
How tall are you?
5'8", I would say.
So 5'7"?
I mean, it's probably 5'7" and change, but I'm gonna round up. Yeah. I'm gonna say 5'8" officially. 5'8" in Timberlands, but maybe 5'9".
So you don't have a ton of ups.
No. I was more of a screen guy. I'll set a screen. I'll take a foul here on there. Basketball was never my sport. I would play, but it was never my sport. I was better.
Yeah, it was fun to play. If you're not like 6'6", it's really not anyone's sport, right? Like you have to have the height.
Tore my ACL playing basketball. That was fun, but that's a story for another
Setting
day.
A screen?
No, going up for a rebound. I landed on somebody's foot, and then like my knee went the wrong direction, and that was blast. My friend was thrilled. It's like, oh, I get to play now because I thankfully I was smart enough to make the free throw, so I was the last man in, and that didn't work out. But all right, let's get back. It's a 10-game slate, Bobby. We have no time for this nonsense. We kind of do. We're kind of breezing through it, I think, actually. So, Dallas versus New Orleans. Luka is a big spend. Kyrie is a big spend. Dollar for dollar, I think Kyrie looks a little bit better than Luka as far as what I'm seeing. They're both obviously worth playing. So, what I was getting at is like the hand in the dirt, like the hand on the court, the hand on the rim kind of play. I was thinking about like Valanciunas, and
I knew you were thinking about Valanciunas with Jones questionable and Nance out. You figured the usage would go to Joe Val.
Well, I was thinking like maybe he gets a few extra minutes, and like Nance is typically one of the guys that will steal his minutes. The backup five stuff, they go smaller, but the hand on the rim stuff, the hand on the court stuff, is Valanciunas. A lot of times he gets played off the court. It's because he's like just like putting the old blender on the pick and roll, and Luka and Kyrie are on the other side. So, like, they're just going to destroy him, right? PNR style. So it's just sort of like, I wonder, I'm not saying they're going to play him off the court. They certainly can, but I just wonder how that's going to go. And that's just, I'm curious what your thoughts are. We're giving 25 minutes to Valanciunas for what it's worth. And would that be, what's the most minutes he's played this season? Played 29 versus Houston, Şengün. There's a natural big on the other side. He played 32 versus Detroit, 29 versus Memphis opening night. So he's gotten there sometimes as far as minutes. What do you expect out of Valanciunas? Is he kind of interesting? Because he's not like he's cheap, but he's also a guy like, if he plays 27 minutes, he can put up like 15 and 12 and 3 and 4 or something like that.
So on my first look, I really liked this game this morning because I thought this news would go overlooked with Jones and Nance, but my first inclination wasn't to Valanciunas, and mainly because of the reasons that you gave. Kyrie, Luka becomes a defensive liability. I really liked Zion. Like, I think you could see Zion's rates improve more in this situation, and he's power forward center eligible, which with Robert Covington, a lot of people aren't going to be really looking to Zion. They'd be more for and it also showed in projections that Brandon Ingram was going to be more popular, and it's usually at most one between those two for me. So I thought Zion was a very, very interesting GPP play. And I didn't mind the run back of Kyrie. I think I probably prefer Kyrie at 8-7, but also like Luka at 11-8. So I had a little bit of both of those guys. And I might not get away. I might still leave this build in my pool a little bit. I wouldn't play Kyrie and Luka together, but definitely still going to be over on Zion. In anticipation of Herbert Jones sitting, and for what I think Zion getting the biggest bump in regards to the Nance Jones situation, which is a hand on the court take and could likely not be correct.
The other interesting thing is, so far this year, both these teams are playing reasonably fast. New Orleans 10th in pace, Dallas 9th. Dallas, the team that was bottom 3 last year in pace, they're playing much faster this year. So they're both playing reasonably fast. And defensively, they're both bottom 7, bottom 8 as far as defensive efficiency. And that's why we're looking at a total of almost 240. So it's kind of a game that's going to be somewhat lost in this slate, I think. And partially because Luka's just so expensive, right? Kyrie's fine, but is he any better than some of the other guards at a similar price? I don't know. It's close. But do you think this game gets kind of lost? Is kind of my question, because I think it does. And, it could be pretty ideal for DFS if we can just find a way to make it work.
Yeah, it's very weird. The ownership really isn't there if you compare it to totals. And I think that's something to keep in mind. It could get lost in translation. And that's why, for that reason, I really like this game in tournaments. I'm going to play this game. The more I think about it, I think it's an interesting game stack. People don't do it enough in GPPs in NBA. I feel like a lot of people just let it happen organically. I'll let it happen organically, but I want to make sure that I'm definitely getting a Zion and a run back piece of one of Luka and Kyrie. To me, it's a very interesting GPP game for the slate.
You want to talk narrative stuff? I see Puppet Master in chat saying Zion still trying to buy in scares me. Yeah, Zion didn't have the most positive. He's like, yeah, man, I'm still trying to buy in on this team. I'm trying to make it work. He's kind of teetering. He wants out of New Orleans. Who knows? We'll see.
Of course he wants. Why would he want to stay in New Orleans?
It's a fun town. I've been a couple times.
No, I bet it's great, but he obviously wants to be in a market. I don't know. I get it.
Yeah, he wants to be on a winning team, I would imagine too. Yeah, I guess that's probably part of it. And I thought this team was turning it around, and I thought they had some pretty good pieces. But the other thing is they're never healthy. When is New Orleans ever healthy?
But that's mainly Zion.
In part, yes. But Ingram always gets hurt, and he stays out 7 or 8 games. McCollum, it's not his fault, but the lungs to start the season. But Marshall, yeah,
I don't think Ingram is that good. He's like a fake star, pretty much. I don't love Brandon Ingram. He just doesn't play good team basketball.
It's interesting because you catch him on the right night, and it looks like if you squint your eyes just enough, it's that's kind of like Kevin Durant. I'm not saying he's Kevin Durant, but he has those moments, and you sort of see a similar build, I suppose, kind of a similar game, but
he's the poorest of poor man's Kevin Durant.
I'm not comparing.
I don't know what the best description of him would be.
We'll talk about in the next game players that like put up great empty stats like Portland Blazers, because Jeremy Grant to me is that perfect guy that like just drives on a terrible team, but you throw him in a good team and he would, his stats would get completely shot. 231 is the total as far as Portland and Utah. Utah is a 7-point favorite here versus Portland. Portland, big shock that Brogdon got hurt after running him to the ground playing 40 minutes a night. Good job there, Portland. And they already lost Robert Williams for the season. Scoot is, of course, out. We've not seen Anthony all season long. Utah is fully healthy with the exception of Walker Kessler. But this game feels like it's kind of sort of somewhat sneaky as well if Portland could stick and stay close, because their guys play a ton of minutes, and the Utah, the Jazz players have an awesome matchup here against Portland. Our projected minutes tonight for the Blazers: Jeremy Grant, 39, and they're also like pretty cheap. They seem a little bit underpriced on both sides. Jeremy Grant, 39 minutes, sharp 39-minute projection, 8 and a 35-minute projection. Skylar Mays, who's looked really solid. His price is now 6-7, though, man. Life comes at you fast for Skylar Mays. And then Utah, I like Markkanen. I'm good with Jordan Clarkson, good with Collins. Keontae George has looked pretty good there, the rookie. Prices have come up. Kelly Olynyk looks pretty good on FanDuel. DK, not as much, certainly playable, I guess, but 4-5 on FanDuel, and the key to that probably is the power forward eligibility. He's going to be getting a fair bit of ownership over there for that reason. But this is one of those DFS games. Not, there's 10 games to watch. You're probably not putting this one on the old league pass. But I don't know if do you watch the quad box? Do you care about such things? You kind of figure out 4 games you want to watch, and I'm guessing Portland, Utah would not make the cut unless you're into such things like sports gambling, DFS, and all that. But yeah, what do you have as far as Portland, Utah? Because I think I'm a little bit more excited about this one than maybe I should be.
Yeah, my girlfriend's going to kill me when I turn on the Jazz Blazers again tonight. So for me, like Colin Sexton's hitting our projections. It's a good matchup for all these guys. I like Skylar Mays a good bit. Keontae George was someone who I think I might slightly prefer to Sexton. Maybe I'm wrong with that take, but don't mind George. And Jordan Clarkson is another guy on the Utah Jazz side who I would have interest in. Markkanen's fine in MME. It's obviously a great matchup for both these teams. It's just a matter of like how much of these guys don't want to get in with all the news that we had earlier. And yeah, I think my favorite value play is probably George. I know we have Colin Sexton currently, but I go George Sexton in my own personal ranking.
Yeah, I just see the chat asking some questions. Don Yeezy's asking Clarkson or Mays. I assume you prefer Clarkson over Mays. Is it close for you? It's kind of close, right? Projection-wise, I think it's close. But
it's close. I prefer Mays over Clarkson.
Interesting.
You like Clarkson?
I would take Clarkson over Mays, but I'm not going to argue about it. Like I think you're perfectly fine.
I have them super close in terms of exposure currently. So yeah.
Brian says, will Agbaji get more run tonight for Utah? And I don't want to play Agbaji because even if he's on the court, he doesn't score fantasy points. He's a 12% usage guy, 0.64 fantasy points per minute. We do have him projected for 28 minutes for what it's worth. But, what is his ceiling projection? Let's see what we have for his ceiling is 24 points. Yeah, I mean, and you'll take that, I guess. But it's not that he's 3K. He's 3.9. It's a 10-game slate. I'm just not playing Agbaji. You have a thought on Agbaji?
Yeah, so I did this deep dive on Agbaji, and he stinks. I'm not playing Agbaji. I seen him popping earlier, and I'm like, this guy is so bad, and I just completely X'd him out of my player.
Yeah, I mean, bump him up a little bit for the matchup, I suppose, but it's hard. It's hard to get excited. By the way, ownership stuff has been updated. If we have time, maybe we'll go back when we knock out all the games. We'll kind of give see what's interesting, see if anything's popping here ownership wise. But the projection team is all over it. We got let's see, what time was the crunch time come in? About 15 minutes after. We're ahead of time. We have 2 games. We have 3 games, so plenty of time to knock this out.
We're ahead of time. We're flying through, Dean. You're soaking up all the usage, being the star of the show.
What? No,
No.
I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say the game.
No. Definitely speak.
I don't want to
you
be that guy.
You carry the load.
I don't.
You came out in the chat and you said you are RG, like all this stuff, puffing your chest out.
Where did I say that?
We just defer.
I feel like you're making this up because I don't recall any of this happening. The Clippers are taking on
I would
Denver.
Never make anything up, Dean.
This sounds fabricated. Is it weird that Denver's only a 4.5 point favorite? I did not understand this line.
Someone mentioned Vegas season long in the chat. If season long questions are all for Kirk D's, like 655, he likes to take them season long NBA questions.
You gotta slide into those DMs. I am in 2 different season long leagues for basketball and doing pretty well.
I wouldn't tell people that, Dean. I wouldn't tell people that.
Is that not? I mean, that wasn't me like humble bragging. I was just saying it as a statement of fact. This is, it's not.
It's one you keep to yourself. I think it's one you keep to yourself.
That's fair. That's a good call. So I shouldn't mention that I'm also in an NHL Dynasty Hockey League. I shouldn't mention that either.
No, definitely don't tell anyone that. Yeah, that's egregious.
That's
you have too much time in your hands.
In my Tinder profile, that's actually my headline. And then you think, and no responses. Nobody's biting in that one for some reason. 225 is a total.
I wonder why.
Not a big hockey fan base down here, apparently. That's obviously what it is. So Denver is, I feel like they should be favored by more versus the Clippers, but I don't know. Am I missing something? The Clippers keep losing with Harden. Denver's one of the best teams in the league. I know they lost to Houston the other night. That was a fun game, by the way. Did watch a chunk of that. Şengün versus Jokic. Did not subject myself to that terrible Monday Night Football game. You don't have to watch the football just because it's on. You certainly can.
I tried to watch it.
Did your girlfriend yell at you? Get the Jets off this TV.
That's why when I turn on Jazz Portland, it's going to be, there's even more heat coming down on me because I try to make her watch that Monday Night Football game the other night with Jets and the Raiders. Good luck.
She makes a fair point.
Or was it? No. Who was it? Was it Sunday night or was
it was Jets Raiders Monday night? I think that's what. No, that was Sunday. Yeah, last night was Buffalo. Yeah. Oh, I got knocked out of my Survivor League because of that nonsense 12th man. Come on, what are you serious?
Oh, I lost like $600 on the second field goal try. I wasn't too happy about that.
That's rough. Yeah, I guess your beat is probably worse than mine. But okay, are we playing Clippers? I haven't played a Clipper yet since they made a trade, and I don't know. Do I need to play one tonight? I don't think I have to. You want to talk me into a Clipper? The floor is yours. I got nothing.
I don't think you have to, but the market is so down on them that I kind of want to leave like one of them in my player pool, and I rationalize it as Kawhi Leonard. I don't know why. At 8-2, I'm going to play some Kawhi. He's going to be the one I'm choosing to play. I think I don't want to play Harden. Don't want to play Westbrook. Don't want to pay 8-8 for Paul George. So 8-2 for Kawhi. Multi-position eligibility. Another power forward. It's going to have lower ownership for that reason, just because it's kind of loaded. Small forward is kind of loaded too. So yeah, the guy is Kawhi that I'm going to sprinkle in to my player pool. And on the other side, I like Michael Porter Jr. a ton at 6'7". And I also like this guy named Nikola Jokic at 12-2, who's very good at the basketball. So although I would prefer Embiid, I am definitely going to have some Jokic exposure to Jokic.
Yeah, Jokic is spectacular. It's just a matter of like, how do I make him work? Last year, he was 1.76 DK fantasy points per minute. This year, it's 1.88. He's improved on that. The usage is up almost 5%. Small sample stuff, 27%. Now it's 32%. The assist rate down a tick, but just insanity. I saw Dink tweeted out with his PRA in the books is I think 54.5, which is just an outrageous number. Like the books are saying like 30, 12, and 12, right? 30, 12, and 12. That's a loss if you're betting over, which is just insanity. He's so good. And just I want him on my team. It's just a matter of how do I make him work, salary reasons. You mentioned MPJ. He's been good too. He's been good. Gordon's been good. They both seen an increase in price, which is the only troublesome thing. Like they're typically 5'8", 5'9", 6'2", 6'3", but Porter's now 6'7". But the absence of Murray, a little bit better for Gordon. I would take Porter over Gordon. They're basically the same price. But I guess we can move on. Well, where are you at right now? I guess you're still messing with stuff. You don't have anything settled, right? I was curious, like, where you're at as far as Jokic, because our current ownership is, and this was refreshed, I think 13%, 14%. You going to be over that, under that? Any idea?
I can tell you right now, but it's not going to be the same. I have 34% to Michael Porter, and Jokic I have 25%. But I'm redoing everything right after the show ends.
For what it's worth, we have Porter Jr. at 28%. So that's a big number. And Jokic at 12. And I'm sure, again, this will be fine-tuned. We still have an hour until lock, but I'm a little bit surprised Porter's getting that much. I like Porter, but 28%, that seems a bit much, but I guess I get it. Two more games. Let's talk about it. Minnesota at Golden State. 216 is the total. Minnesota's a 3.5-point favorite because Steph Curry is not playing basketball tonight. Minnesota is fully healthy. Otherwise, as far as Golden State, everybody's good to go. By the way, I was talking about, I was going to tweet this out because I was like kind of digging into certain players, and I was going to make a thread. I'm not a thread guy, but maybe I'll become a thread guy.
You are a thread. You should be a thread guy. You seem like a guy that would love to do threads. Just sit there and needle and do your little.
Oh, you're talking about like with yarn is what you're talking about. I was talking about threads on the Twitter, but yeah. I'm
surprised you don't thread more.
I don't like thread at all. I'm not
Top
a big
10. Tweet. No, what's the one you do though? The poll?
The power rankings.
The power rankings, yeah.
Yeah. If I'm taking suggestions. You got any suggestions? We'll do some personalized power rankings if you have.
I don't have any suggestions. I scroll right past your power rankings. There was one funny one I seen the other day. I forget what it was, but I've actually muted the word power rankings just not to see your tweet.
That's amazing. I hope that's true.
I've never muted or blocked anyone, which is kind of a problem.
Oh, I haven't. There's very few. I think last I looked, I had like 9 or 10 people blocked, like ever. I've been on Twitter for like 10 years or something like that. So I think it's pretty good for the most part. I'm not going to block you. So here, if we're gonna do power rankings on Andrew Wiggins, people, there's another Andrew Wiggins that's in the DFS universe. This Andrew Wiggins, the one playing for the Warriors, will probably be dead last this season because this year DK's fantasy points per minute last year 0.98. This year 0.67. True shooting 44%. The assist rate at less than 6%. The rebound rate less than 8%. Usage at 21. Usage kind of the same, but just he's been horrific. He's been played off the court and just not closing a lot. But again, there is no Steph tonight, so I guess Chris Paul. We're assuming Chris Paul is going to jump in that starting lineup. Klay Thompson's really cheap on FanDuel. He's like $1K cheaper over there. You don't get the 3-point bonus, but he looks pretty playable over there. But Minnesota is the best defense in basketball. So I think Golden State's going to struggle tonight as far as scoring points. I did bet Golden State's team total under. So hopefully we get that. I don't really think the Warriors are going to be able to score very well against this Minnesota team, which has been just awesome defensively. Not just the best team defensively this year, but the best team defensively by almost 4 points. 102 defensive rating. Orlando and Boston, your Boston Celtics, sometimes when they're on the road, I guess, at 105.8. How do you feel about Golden State? And theoretically, right, there should be some value here, but is there? Ownership-wise, Chris Paul is the most popular play, 6.1K. Otherwise, it's interesting. Nobody really getting Wiggins is 5K and getting 2% ownership, which is so weird, but I get it. It makes sense. The absence of Steph, what do you got as far as the Warriors?
Yeah, all these plays are fine. Like Chris Paul, I guess, is the guy that he's showing the most ownership and for good reason. With Steph out, Klay Thompson, Chris Paul would be my favorite. The rest of these guys, I really don't have a ton of interest in. Klay Thompson, he definitely sees a usage increase. I don't know. I guess he's fine for tournaments, but he's not going to be someone I'm going out of my way to get to. And on the Wolves side, I don't really have anything. I guess you can make a case for Rudy Gobert. there's nothing I love on the Wolves side either. Anthony Edwards is always fine.
So the only one getting ownership really on Minnesota is Connolly. He's just so cheap at 4.9, but do we want Mike Connolly? Are we excited about that? Not really. He's getting 14% ownership. Kyle Anderson slow-mo is also 4.5, so he's getting some ownership. Nas is 4.7, getting 3%. Nobody's playing Edwards. Just like, is he in your pool? You can get like 3 times the field if you get 3%. He's you never really know when a monster Edwards night is coming tonight. I don't think it is. I don't think he like blows your team up either. But yeah, you're just it's kind of weird that Steph's out and we don't really care. Is that strange? I get it. That's kind of where I'm at too.
I don't think it's that strange. Like, it's just Chris Paul for me. Like, I just don't. The game environment isn't great. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a ton of interest anywhere. Like, yeah, if Wiggins was good at basketball, I'd be interested in playing him at his price tag, but he's atrocious. So,
how old do you think Wiggins is? I looked at this earlier today. How old do you think Andrew Wiggins is?
I know you know. So that's the thing is, I don't have to guess because I know because you know everybody's age.
No, I was curious. I'm like, I wonder how
he's
old
20. He's 27, 28.
He's 28, but he feels older, doesn't he? Like, I feel like he's been around forever.
Because he's one of those guys that it's just he's had such an up and down career. He's number 1 overall pick.
A bust, kind of, sort of. Not a bust, but kind of a bust.
He's not a vengeful guy. This isn't a guy that's going to want to go into Minnesota and do damage, right? It's Andrew Wiggins. He's Canadian.
They're kind.
They're kind people. Like, they're very nice people. He's not trying to go in there and shake things up. So, like, I guess that would be my one reason. If he was vengeful, like if he was Sadiq Bey, we might have some interest, but he's Andrew Wiggins.
Well, yeah. According to the chat that Sohan is in, I don't see Sohan being in though, unless I'm missing it. Well, there it is. Just popped up. Sohan is in.
You guys said hey in chat. We pretty much complimented Canadians. We said they were kind.
Yeah, but TJ, of course, he's upset that you're saying he can't be vengeful. Like, that's some kind of an insult, I suppose. But yeah,
that's not an insult at all. I'm sure some people are just are soft-hearted, good people. Canadian.
Especially those in Saskatchewan, Canada. I feel that's especially non-vengeful over there. So let's move on. We have the Memphis Grizzlies against the Lakers. No official news as far as LeBron. He's got that calf. He was at shoot around today. It is the front half of a back-to-back. Tomorrow night they're on ESPN national TV. This is the in-season tournament. He seemed to care about the in-season tournament in his interview. And I guess I'm in the minority in this, but I think the players, if not today, they're going to care at some point. Like, the closer we get.
He says he cares about the in-season tournament because he has to say he cares about the in-season tournament.
Well, he kind of brought it up, though. I think it wasn't like, you care about it. Like, you can't say no. It wasn't like directly asked. The comment that I heard.
He brought it up because he's the type of guy that needs to. He's like a certain guy I know on this show who needs to make it all about him.
Well, Tim's not going to be on for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You talk about Tim, or are you talking about it? Not yourself. I feel like
no, not me. Definitely not me. I'm very humble. It's more another guy that I know who wears glasses.
Oh boy, I can't imagine who you're even talking about. I don't even know, but I can't read and I can't see. Where did the world go? All right, there's everybody. Took the glasses off there for a second. Hey, the Lakers are taking on Memphis. We don't know. Is Tillman officially questionable? Was Xavier Tillman? What's the latest news? That's what I'm seeing. We've seen Bismack, Biyombo.
What's that? At that point, do we really care? Do we have an if then?
No, I don't think so. But I guess we're not playing Bismack anyway.
I'll be fast asleep by that time. 10 p.m.
You're knocked out by 10 p.m. Are you serious?
Dude.
Really?
I was one of those people who would be like, we need late swap. Late swap's great. And now you have a kid and you don't like late swap as much. I can tell you that much.
I can see that, but you're waking up 6, 7 o'clock in the morning there if you're knocked out by 10?
I'm usually down by like 8:30. Like
Oh
I'm baking this into what I'm playing is I want to beat my bedtime. So I don't have to
what
worry
would like 10 years ago Bobby Gomes say to like current day Bobby Gomes if he heard this?
He would hate him. He wouldn't like him.
You sell out.
Yeah, he sell out.
All right. Look at you with a family. All right. So Anthony Davis, LeBron James, they both look pretty good here against Memphis. We've seen Gilliard play pretty good for Memphis. The price has been bumped up for him. The pricey Memphis players are not going to be basically owned at all. Triple J, we're looking at like 1% ownership. Bane, we're looking at 1% ownership. Certainly in tournaments, by all means, you can fire those guys. If you want like a different kind of game stack, I don't know how you get both those guys and one of the big two and the Lakers and make everything else work. But just started thinking out loud, like this game's going to go basically unowned unless LeBron gets ruled out. And then Davis will become a really, really strong play depending on when that would happen. And do we have an if then on this? I feel like we don't.
Don't mush this situation. I don't want that to
he's
happen.
Playing. Like he's going to play, but like, I don't know that for certain. But I think he's going to play. We do not have an if then for this one, unfortunately. Well, we have a Xavier Tillman.
B-Shot just made a good point in chat. He said, you owe us an apology, me and Tim an apology when Tim gets on for no showing Sunday.
I had things to do. Like it's my that was the first day I was out like all season. Like, what do you want from me? I can't take a day off.
That's not true. That's not true.
I think it was.
You no-showed. You went out. You had a good time.
No, it wasn't a no-show. It was a planned absence.
You're out on Miami Beach.
It was a planned absence. Memphis and the Lakers. I'll just turn it over to you. This game's going to be basically unowned, which is weird, but I get it, I guess.
It doesn't seem weird because people want to go to bed. No, Gilliard, Austin Reeves, I think those guys are fine. But 4-5, I think Maladon's 4-4. I think I'd prefer Maladon, so not playing any Gilliard. But maybe, like if you wanted to get a little different in tournaments, I don't know. I don't love Gilliard.
No.
Austin Reeves, do you have Reeves' price tag in front of you? You just took it off the screen.
6.3K coming off the bench. I should note, by the way, this new lineup, Russell has been not closing. So he's been hurt by this. And also he's 7.5, which seems outrageous. So I would X out D'Angelo Russell. Just that's a general thought. But go ahead.
Yeah, I don't love this game. It would be AD if LeBron sat. That's pretty much like my thoughts. Arrogant chat said no days off, Dean.
I'm sure. I feel like he's taking a day off or two. I'm definitely sure.
He hasn't in terms of sending you the list. He's been super punctual. He gets it in right when I told him to get it in. He gets it.
You're telling him to do it. I didn't realize you're telling him.
Yeah.
But look, it's Sunday. I can't take a day off like one Sunday a year. I suppose. I guess I can't. I apologize. Next time I'll run it by you before I
run it by me beforehand at least. Like it's a lot being in your shadow as is, He
told us like 5 days in advance, Bobby.
Thank you. Tim's got my back. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. I mean, if you would pay attention to what we talk about in Slack, you would know this, but you don't.
Well, he's too busy sleeping. You hear he goes to bed at 8:00?
Yeah,
it's a good. If you have kids, it's normal. This isn't like something it's definitely normal. Look at Roth making his bed. He knows.
Yeah. I second.
Also, you made it plural. To my knowledge, how many children do you have right now?
I'm going to have 2. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest.
Okay. Roth
also second that.
Okay, yeah.
Roth's got a little bit better excuse, I suppose. What time does Keith go? Here's the funny thing with projections. We'll say hello to these guys in a second. Obviously, we're going to step aside for crunch time. But one of my favorite things is like during baseball season is I like to get ahead of things as far as baseball projections, and like if the new pool of players will pop in, like, oh, then we can start the next day. And I'm like plugging in my baseball picks, like for our rankings, like 2:00 in the morning. Keith's over there in Arizona, and he's plugging his in too. At the same time, we're both doing like the only 2 people in the world, 8 billion people, doing the same thing. It's me and Keith giving our baseball rankings. We of course, modify it the next day, but yeah. Keith, what time do you go to bed? I feel like you're with me. You're a night owl.
Yeah, it's usually like 1 a.m. Pacific time. So like Bobby's about to wake up at the point I'm going to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Tim's asleep on the show currently. He's what time you go to bed, Tim?
That's his resting, sleeping face.
I go to sleep when the last game of whatever slate is locks. That's when I go to sleep because you have to stay up till the last game locks.
Well,
So
we all know that, but I'm just like, if you weren't playing DFS,
it's a big night for you, Tim. You got a 10 gamer in hockey too, or like a 9 gamer in hockey. We playing both slates?
Oh yeah.
We stacking the Panthers? Panthers are big favorites tonight, right?
Yeah. Panthers are huge favorites tonight.
All right. Then back to Roth. Roth, are you still tinkering with your mic, or I see in the?
Yeah, my good mic isn't working, so it probably sounds like shit audio. And my bad. I don't know. It's not registering.
You sound fine to me.
You sound fine.
Okay, everybody else?
Good.
Yeah, he sounds good.
Okay.
Bobby, you got the old fill it in the plums the pick before we yield for crunch time. Who's your favorite play? Feel free to be ambitious. Feel free to go off the board. Give me somebody a little bit goofy. But who are you feeling in the plums tonight? Who's going to take down all the American dollars for you?
yeah, I like Zion a good bit. If Embiid plays, my favorite play in the slate, but the guy who's off the board lower owned, I like Zion.
There it is. Zion Williamson there for Bobby. Myself and Bobby do appreciate y'all watching the first portion of Crunch Time. It's called Grinders Live. We're yielding in the Crunch Time. Hey, hit that like button. We didn't say that. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, do all those things. It's going to be Kevin Roth. It's Keith Eyster. It's Tim. They're taking you home. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, Dino, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel. I'm sure you are well aware the reason the show is free is because of Fanduel. Hit them a little thumbs up for keeping the show free. Joined, as always, by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got the Iceman, Keith Eyster, in the house. What up, Ice?
Not too much. Nice little 10 gamer here. In-season tournament day again. So maybe a couple extra minutes. I haven't really seen much of a difference, but I kind of think as the tournament goes on, we start to see teams playing a little harder. Right now, I haven't seen much of a difference, but worth noting. Some major news we're still waiting on with the Joel Embiid stuff.
Okay. And then just for like life enjoyment wise, you got OKC versus San Antonio, right? Chet versus Wemby.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's like a must watch, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be a blast.
Yeah, I am thrilled for that. And it's on TNT, which makes everything better. So yeah, I am 10 out of 10 pumped for that. Also 10 out of 10 pumped for my guy Tim in the house. What up, man?
Yeah, not much. Definitely a really, really good NBA slate. Keith mentioned that we have some big news for this 7 o'clock game, and that really is going to make or break this slate. So we're waiting on Joel Embiid like we always are. It was a game time decision. So I asked Keith if he would explain to the people how to make a CSV with Embiid in and Embiid out. So I'd like him to go over that for the people real quick. If they want to play tournaments tonight, it's a really good thing to know what to do.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best way to start this is what do we do if he's in? What do we do if he's out? And Ice, if you feel comfortable leading with that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. So we have these awesome things called if-then projections. So basically it's our projections team telling you what the projections would look like if certain players are in or certain players are out. And we have one of those for Joel Embiid. And in Lineup HQ, all of our projections are editable. You can manually change minutes. You can manually change fantasy points projections. So you can just go through and first you run it as things are currently projected with the exposures and all the settings that you want. And you save that set of lineups in one CSV, and you have that all ready to go. And that's going to be your upload, assuming that Embiid does not get ruled out. If Embiid ends up getting ruled out, after you've saved your first CSV, you go into Lineup HQ, make the edits to change the Sixers projections all to what they are going to be if Embiid sits, because they are wildly different. Tyrese Maxey is going to project as like the best play on the slate. Absolutely. On DraftKings where he's cheaper. Tobias Harris is a phenomenal play on FanDuel. Paul Reed becomes interesting. DeAnthony Melton becomes interesting. Like we're playing some Maxey already, but Harris, you're probably not playing. Melton and Reed, you're definitely not playing. Those guys become some of the absolute best plays on the slate. So you want heavy exposure to them. You can get what the projections will be into your CSV. I would tweak the team on the other side in this situation as well, just because of how big an impact Joel Embiid has. So I would bump up some of the indie bigs for sure. Like Miles Turner would get a nice bump for me. Halliburton a slight bump as well. And then you run the same script with those new projections, and you have that set aside ready to go. And then if the news drops at 6:35 here, you're not scrambling to try and make decisions here. You just load and upload that new CSV you have set.
Okay, that's interesting. I've never used a CSV in my life. I don't even know what a CSV is. So I feel like maybe half the people watching would go that route, and the other half are just going to manually, okay, the news breaks, and that's when, you know, Maxey becomes best play on the slate. Who was the big guy that you mentioned?
Paul Reed.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, Embiid in uniform warming up, dribbling drills in the paint, according to what is happening on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Who is Roth going to play with no Brunson or Kuz? I don't know. I don't know. I'm in trouble tonight, guys.
Keith, if Embiid were to sit, would you make a rule min 2 Philly? In all your
10-game slate, I don't think you have to do that, but it's certainly viable. Min 1 for sure. I think you definitely need one guy from Philly. I think 2 makes sense even. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
I would just say what I would just say what
it.
I would do is I would min 2 Philly, but that's just my opinion. So.
I mean, Maxey has been crushing.
He dropped 50 last time out. Yeah, and then
right.
played.
Yeah, exactly. He certainly seems like a must-have if he's out. Okay, well, that is good to note and to monitor. And if and when the news breaks, we will stop the show wherever we're at, and we'll discuss that, and we'll make those changes. But in the meantime, I do believe that right now we have him projected. Embiid projected is in, right? All of our projections are running as if he's in. So we're going to start assuming that he's in, and we'll see if we need to pivot and change from there. Let's dive into this. It's 10 games. Like we can't just get too bogged down in one situation. So Tim, why don't you walk us through where we're at and how you would start a FanDuel cash build?
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. We did get a min starter here for the Spurs. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah.
Champagne. I don't know that dude.
I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just going to call him Champagne, but I don't know.
That works for me.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. He's starting, and I don't know if we care about that, but it's worth noting.
Quick note, just because Knapp dropped it in the projection chat a little earlier, 11 guys projected to start at $4.5K salary or less on DK. So there's plenty of value out there tonight.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, good note.
All right.
I was waiting for Tim to take this.
I'm very sorry. All right.
I was like, is he frozen? Is he?
No, right. No, my bad. Cool. I was looking at all the value on DK. So, okay. All right. Yeah. So on FanDuel, we got some value that opened up with Charlotte. So they're a little bit thinner than they normally would be. Theo Maledon, point guard, 3,900. I'm definitely starting my cash team with him. He's projected to play 28 minutes. He's a very, very strong play. Our projections absolutely love Kyrie at 8,600. I prefer Murray for Atlanta. He's 8,600. But you could certainly go Kyrie. They're both point guard, shooting guard, so they're completely fine. Jalen Suggs is okay at 62 for cash, but I prefer either going up or down to Murray, Irving, and then down to Maledon. Chris Paul at 6,100. He's point guard only. He would be in the cash game conversation. But I still think that I prefer getting to Maledon, Murray, and or Irving. So I think Paul and Suggs, they're fine, but they're just a little bit of a step below for me for cash. Shooting guard, Keontae George is definitely the top points per dollar play. Great game script in that Utah-Portland game. We should be getting a lot of exposure to that. in cash games and GPPs. So Keontae George is definitely my cash game shooting guard. Shaden Sharp, 6,800. He's going to have a huge role. Portland's super thin. They got a lot of injuries. He's projected to play 39 minutes. So he's a really strong play. Bogdanovich for Atlanta, 5,700. I think he's a little bit better of a play on DK, but I think he's still super viable on FanDuel. Klay Thompson, 5,400. I think he's a really strong play at shooting guard. I'm surprised at his projected ownership, to be honest with you. I thought he'd be a little bit higher owned with no Curry. And if you're not playing Murray at point guard, definitely have him in your cash team at shooting guard. Small forward, you're playing Jeremy Grant either at power forward or small forward. He is probably the top play on the entire slate. He's projected for 43 FanDuel points at 6,700. Absolutely incredible play. Regardless of the Embiid news, Robert Covington is a really strong value. I think he's projected to play around 27 minutes at 3,900. So he would be like the spent down option. Shaden Sharp, once again, another Portland guy. You can play him at shooting guard or small forward, either way. I think Jimmy Butler is interesting, but he's just at a weird price point that I think I would leave him for GPPs and not cash. And then power forward, it's basically the same kind of guys. It's Grant, it's Covington, Cameron Johnson, Jimmy Butler for tournaments. I think PJ Washington, if you're at that price point, he would be okay for cash. Kelly Olynyk, probably not a cash game play, but again, if you have 4,500 and you land there, I guess you could play him. And then center is, well, it's basically two guys. It's basically Joel Embiid or Jokic in cash. So it's a real toss-up. I'm leaning Embiid because I like the pace of that matchup better, assuming that he plays. Embiid I prefer over Jokic, but it's super close. So, it really comes down to those two guys for cash.
Okay, very good. Then let's talk some tournaments here, and for that we bring in the Iceman. What do you got? What do you like?
Yeah, so just a couple of game stacks. The first two games, or two of the first three, really all three games are very much in play. So no waiting on this slate. The Embiid news we're going to have very shortly here. But I think you're loading up on these first three games. Indy Philly is awesome. Philly's already missing a couple of guys. Indy plays really fast, doesn't play any defense. Miami Charlotte, same situation. Miami missing a couple of guys in an awesome matchup. Charlotte plays really fast, doesn't play defense. And then Atlanta and Detroit, Trae Young out for Atlanta, Jalen Duren out for Detroit. So really like that matchup. Atlanta is a pace-up team as well. So first three game environments of the night are just amazing. So
is it crazy for me to ask you to go into your favorite plays from each of those games? Because all right, Duren is out and these guys are out, but who's stepping up in those spots?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Philly, if Embiid is in, I still like Maxey. He's still very playable. Probably not getting to Melton or Harris. They become two extremely high-owned plays for me if Embiid gets ruled out. Paul Reed enters that conversation as well as a tournament play. On the Indy side, it's tougher. If Embiid plays, I don't like much at all. Halliburton is the one guy that I would use if I'm playing like three Philly players, but I don't feel the need to get to him much. Miles Turner is not in my pool if Embiid plays as well. Miami Charlotte. On the Miami side, it's Bam. Like he has just been, has a career high usage rate. He's doing everything this year. Bigs against Charlotte has been a thing for multiple years. So I think Bam has an enormous ceiling tonight. Butler's usage has been down a little bit. I don't like him as much. The price is very good on FanDuel. So I get it. I just don't have a ton. And Kyle Lowry is in play with Tyler Hero out as well. Charlotte side, they are missing Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, and there's one other that I'm missing, Brandon Miller. I think Theo Maledon, assuming that he starts, is a fantastic play. PJ Washington has more ceiling without Rozier. LaMelo Ball has more ceiling without Rozier. Probably not getting to Mark Williams with the tough matchup against Bam there. Atlanta side with Trae Young out, DeJounte Murray is one of the best plays on the entire slate. You can look for some value here. Bogdanovich is expected to step into the starting lineup. I love him as a value. He is starting officially. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. And Sadiq Bey as well. DeAndre Hunter is very cheap here on FanDuel, in play on DraftKings as well. Detroit side, Asar Thompson has been doing everything. He's getting like legitimately 15 rebounds without Jalen Duren in the lineup. It has been absolutely insane. For that reason, I can't play Marvin Bagley because Asar Thompson is the guy that is like picking up his game. I like Cade Cunningham's ceiling, and I like Isaiah Stewart's ceiling on the Detroit side.
Okay, thank you for walking me through that. And I don't mean to jump you back into things, but now we got to go through a FanDuel cash build. Sorry, FanDuel GPP build.
Yeah, yep, sure. So you want to go position by position, or?
Yeah, or you can just hit some of your highlights, but that'd be, that always works.
Yeah, I'll try to go through here pretty quick. We're getting behind. Let's see, point guard Chris Paul. I like this spot for him. We haven't seen him much without Steph Curry. Playing next to Draymond, we're not sure what it's going to look like, but I think there's big ceiling here for Chris Paul. Tough matchup against Minnesota. Jordan Clarkson, Utah, Portland, another game environment that I really like. Mentioned Halliburton. SGA, one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Love the Oklahoma City San Antonio game as well. Wemby, Chet are certainly going to be fun to watch, but SGA is legitimately just balling this year. Some shooting guards. Let's see. Melton, I'm keeping an eye on. Cade Cunningham has shooting guard eligibility, which is nice because point guard generally has more upside. I'm sorry. I had point guard selected still. Let's see. Asar Thompson has shooting guard, small forward, like him a good amount. Jalen Williams, a guy in that Oklahoma City game that I like a good amount. Jalen Suggs is interesting for Orlando. Klay Thompson has upside here without Steph in the lineup, so certainly don't mind him. A couple of forwards here. Zion Williamson is very interesting tonight against Dallas, who's playing at a much faster pace this year. Robert Covington, one of those cheap starters that we have. DeAndre Hunter, one of the Atlanta guys I mentioned. Jalen Johnson in the conversation as well. Andrew Wiggins, man, I don't know what to do with this guy. Like, theoretically, he has room to put up a big game, but it has been a rough scene out there for Andrew Wiggins today. Centers, I want to get up to Embiid if he's playing as much as I can, along with Nikola Jokic. Like, Jokic just been absolutely smashing without Jamal Murray. Now that I'm on Denver, missed a couple of the Denver guys at forward. Love Michael Porter Jr. and Aaron Gordon today as well. Both of them have been getting nice bumps without Murray as well. Nick Claxton, an interesting mid-range center to me. Tough matchup there against Orlando, but I do like him a good amount. John Collins without Kessler, and Bam Adebayo, one of my favorite plays at center.
Very good. Okay. I'm also glad to know, I thought that someone was just farting this whole time, but someone's got their phone on vibrate. Is it Tim?
It's
is that
me.
Yours?
It's me. Yeah.
But like 3 times I was like, you are not muted, and you continually are ripping at
I have so many alerts going on off right now for NBA and NHL, so I apologize.
Okay.
I will mute my mic.
You're good. I'm just glad to know that what the source of that.
Well, I'm just trying. I just want to get this Embiid news,
Yeah.
So I'm like really trying to pay attention, but it's not happening.
It will come soon enough. Okay, very good. I did mention this show, by the way, is sponsored by FanDuel. Make sure you're checking out their fantastic bonus offers here. If you bet $5 on any money line, you get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 up. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's kick this over to DK. My issue, Tim, is that there's like 4 point guards I want to play, and I can't. I can't play Paul and Maledon and Maxey and Luka, or there's too much happening.
That's true.
Where are you prioritizing here? Because there's a ton of great plays now.
Yeah, so in cash, I'm still I still have to have some kind of value, so I'm still going to prioritize with Maledon at 4,400. You're right though. There's a lot of great spend up options. But definitely one guard spot I'm going to take up is with Maladon because I need value somewhere. You know, but yeah, Maladon is definitely going to be in my cash games, and then it's probably one of Murray, Clarkson, Paul. I think Maxey, even if Embiid is viable, even in cash games. Even though that sounds kind of weird, but Keontae George is okay, but I wouldn't play Maladon and George because I think you're giving up too much opportunity cost at point guard. That's just my opinion, even though they both rate out great points per dollar. But for cash, I would play one of Maladon or George. I prefer Maladon. Shooting guard, I think you've got to play Murray from the Hawks, 8,300. No Trae Young. He's going to be the guy tonight. I think he's priced really well. He's in a really good matchup, so he should definitely be in your cash game team. Bogdanovic should either be at your shooting guard or small forward. Probably small forward tonight is the best place to put him. 4,900. Confirmed starter. I love Jordan Clarkson, but I think he's probably going to miss my cash games, but I absolutely love him for tournaments. So I think he's a really, really strong play. Shaedon Sharpe, again. Skylar Mays is another one. These two guys from Portland. I don't know if I can play them in cash, but single entries, GBPs, I love them both. So they are strong plays. Small forward. It's Bogdanovic. He's definitely the guy, 4,900. Michael Porter Jr. I should have mentioned him on FanDuel too. He's a strong play on cash on both sites. I think you can play Tobias Harris even with Embiid in. DeAndre Hunter, I think you can play. Brandon Ingram, he might be a little bit too expensive for cash. I would save him for tournaments. Same thing with Sadiq Bey. He's more of a tournament guy, not a cash game guy. Power forward, it's still just Bobby Covington and Jeremy Grant. It's those two guys. You got to get Covington and you got to get Grant.
You like Covington over min price starting Champagnier?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah. Yep. And that's with Embiid in. He's projected to play more minutes. I say $500 for Covington. That's just my opinion. But and then at the center again, it's Embiid or Jokic. That's who I'm prioritizing my salary tonight in cash is Embiid or Jokic, and I'm leading Embiid.
That makes, there's a ton of value at guard, so you're saving money at guard, and then it leaves you with a bunch of money to spend. You mentioned you're not in the utility, you're not spending up.
There's plenty of forward spots to save on also. So I mean, it's really easy, but that's my priority is to get Jokic or Embiid.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's talk tournament builds here. And there's a lot of value, and I don't know who I want in, and I don't know. I need your help. You got to walk me through it. We got to take one down.
Yeah, so I think Embiid and Jokic are priorities even in tournaments. Like they just have more ceiling than anybody else. They're both in amazing spots. So similarly, I'm trying to get in as much of them as I can. That being said, there are some guard plays that I want. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being number one as a priority. Other than those two guys, matchup against San Antonio is phenomenal. And I mentioned he's just been doing everything. So want to make sure I have exposure there. LaMelo is okay as well. Probably not getting to him as much just because I'm still going up at the center position as much as I can. There is enough value where I can get like an SGA Embiid type of lineup on this slate. I do have to eat some of the uncomfortable cheap chalk. Like Covington is probably not going to hit a ceiling game, but he's going to be fine. He's going to be out there for a bunch of minutes. What do you got?
That's my issue with him, though. Is can he get me a number that I'm happy with? Or is he just going to get me Flames, but it's only like 19 points because he's so cheap, and then the Flames don't do shit?
I think 25 is available to him.
Yeah.
Maladon is the one I would be concerned about, and it's not like he's 3,500. He's 4,400 as well. And I could see them just going with a different type of lineup and him not necessarily getting the minutes or not getting the usage that maybe we're projecting. Like I'm concerned about Maladon and his ownership. I think I would prefer Keontae George if I had the money, just because we've seen him in this situation with Utah, and know that he has a little bit of a ceiling there. Like 28 in his last game, that you'd probably take that at 5K.
Hit the horn.
What do we got?
Embiid is in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do a whole lot. But what guys that we did have plugged in are now no longer viable? I know Maxey is still okay, but there were some other guys we were considering that's out. Like I think I had a Reed in one of my lineups. Yep, he's out.
Definitely take Paul Reed out.
Yeah. I think Maxey's absolutely in play. In fact, one of my favorite plays on the slate. Tobias is still in play for sure. Kelly Oubre is out, who has been having a ton of usage this season. I'm glad to hear he's okay, but he will not be playing in this game. Let's see here. Melton is pretty fringy for me. I definitely prefer other plays in that 5K range. Like Keontae George, I just mentioned, I definitely would play him over Melton. But Melton is cheap enough you can play him if he's like a last piece type.
What about Covington?
Still very much in play. I mean,
nothing changes with Covington.
Okay, great. All right. I guess we can. Yeah, good. People are asking about Covington. Yeah, still okay. I don't know where I cut you off there, Ice. Were you kind of closing out, anyways?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going through some of the higher owned value plays and how to handle that. The Hawks situation is one that I wanted to touch on. I think that's the best cheap chalk because Trae Young has such high usage. Like Murray is a play that I definitely want to be overweight on. Bogdanovich is a guy who's projecting as one of the highest owned on the slate, but I'm still overweight on him. Should play 30 minutes. We've seen him able to score the basketball plenty. 4,900, very, very good price on Bogdanovich. Hard to see him failing in the spot. I also like Bay. Not as high on Hunter. Jalen Johnson is priced above those guys quite a bit. So those two are a little bit more iffy. But Bay and Bogdanovich in particular, I think are good chalk. I also like Okongwu as kind of an off the board play for the Hawks. If he has run into a few extra minutes at the expense of Capella at times this season. So like nobody's playing Okongwu compared to like a Bay. I like just getting my Hawks exposure there and hoping that he's the guy that does a little bit extra today.
Okay, very good. Let's see, rebuilding things. I got 7K left in the util and a DK tournament. Ice, who do you got? And then we can get to people's questions who actually matter, not mine.
7K in the util. PJ Washington is a good option. My favorite option is Aaron Gordon. If you prefer Michael Porter Jr., go that way too. But Aaron Gordon, far less ownership.
Okay, love it. With that, let's dive into some of these QQs here. And we're going to start, as always, on the RG Discord. If you're not hanging out with us in the RotoGrinders Discord, you really should be. We got people in there all the time helping to answer questions. By the way, I'm getting pronunciation guides here. It's Champagny. I'm just champagne. I'm just going to do it how I do it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll figure it out later. Let's see. Any JT Thor? Is that a real person? FanDuel Cash?
He's
JT
real.
Thor?
But
That's
no.
a real person.
He's so low usage. I'm really not on board with that. I guess you could if he's like your last piece, but
He could literally play 30 minutes and get 12 fantasy points.
Yeah, he's like the new Tony Snell. Like I just, you know what I mean? Like I just now. I really don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's such a grind playing those guys too, man. It's so brutal.
Yeah.
They get 35 minutes and they still don't get there. Like, oh God. All right. Sean says, Ice, who is the best FanDuel GPP play for the Hornets? Is it some boy named Ball?
He certainly has the most ceiling. Let me just look at ownership here real quick. It's definitely not Maladon for me. It's not Thor in tournaments, especially. It is Ball. I don't like the matchup for Mark Williams, and PJ Washington has more ownership. So give me LaMelo.
Okay. DK Cash, Tim, over to you. Clarkson or Mays? By the way, we got tons of time. We still have like 12 minutes until lock. I'm considering just putting in as many entries as I can in these next 12 minutes. But Tim, DK Cash, Clarkson or Mays?
Clarkson, definitely.
Okay. Gamble says on FanDuel, Tim, I'll go to you here. Cove and Bogey or Thor and Washington?
The first one.
Yeah, for sure. FanDuel Cash, Tim, right back to you. Jokic and Porter or Embiid and Butler? FanDuel Cash.
Jokic and Porter. Actually, and Embiid and who?
Embiid, Butler.
That's so close. They're both fantastic. I guess it's probably Embiid. I like Embiid better tonight, so I got to stick with that. That's my take. Okay. But they're both great.
Great. Ice, FanDuel GPP. Which Hornet scrub do you prefer, Thor or Maladon? I think it's Maladon by a mile for you.
It is Maladon.
Yep. DK Cash and single entry. Tim, Jokic, Sexton or Ayton and DeJounte?
I go the second one.
Okay, I'm going to get back to the Discord in a second, but we are getting into some of these YouTube questions I want to get to. Let's start just scrolling up a little bit here. FanDuel, Embiid and MPJ. Ice, this is for you. Embiid and MPJ or Joker and Sharp?
Both very good. I lean the first one.
Okay. FanDuel, Ingram or Zion? Ice, Ingram or Zion?
Give me Zion tonight.
Ice, any Miami cheapies like Duncan Robinson or Jacques on FanDuel?
So Jacques has seen some minutes increase. It's really difficult because of what the Heat have done the last couple of games. Butler missed a game. Lowry missed a game. It's hard to know how many minutes he's going to play, but he is a guy that I think they're trying to get more involved. I would play Jaquez over Duncan Robinson. Robinson will be out there, but he basically has to score a ton, which he can do. But Jaquez can do a little bit of everything. I'd play him.
Okay, great. Tim, who is your favorite value play on DK? Just straight up, your favorite value on DK.
Straight up, Bogdanovich.
Nice. Any Warriors? We talked about this a little bit. You mentioned Clay. We mentioned Wiggy. I get the feeling y'all were both kind of lukewarm.
Clay. I love Clay. I love Clay in tournaments, and I think he's cheap enough on FanDuel to play in cash. I'm surprised that he's so low owned. I really like Clay for all contest types. But I don't know.
I do as well, and I like Chris Paul a lot. I think Draymond is in play, and like I said, the Wiggins things, who knows? Like, try it at your own risk. But if you're ever going to do it, this is probably the day.
Gotcha. Okay. Any shade on Sharp on DK for a 3 max entry, Ice? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He literally could play 42 minutes here.
Okay. Manny asking about Clay and FanDuel Cash, and Tim.
Yes.
Tim agreed with that. Going to jump back into the RG Discord here. Let's see. FanDuel single entry. Are you avoiding Theo?
I am not. I am not avoiding him. But you certainly can. You certainly can avoid him, but I am not.
Okay. DK says FanDuel Cash. Tim, Paul, Clay, and Jokic, or Mays, Cam Johnson, and Embiid?
Man, they're both really, really good. I guess I have to go with the second one.
Okay.
They're both good though.
I landed on a lot of Cam Johnson and DK. Is that all right for a tournament?
That's great.
Yes. Yeah, he played 35 minutes in their last game out. They're shorthanded again, so yep.
Great. Fine. He just kept like my last man in, just kept being him. I was like,
I do prefer Isaiah Stewart for slightly more if you can get up there, but
okay.
Cam's
maybe in a lineup or two I can make that pivot. FanDuel 100-man GPP, one lineup, the first 3 faces you tap. That's a fun question. JT Money says the first 3 faces you tap after Jokic in a FanDuel 100-man GPP. I love it. Ice, what do you got?
All right. If I'm going Jokic, then I don't have Embiid, so Maxey is the next guy that I'm clicking. And then I will try to save you a little bit of money here with a Bogdanovich.
Okay. You need one more because it was the 3 faces after
Jokic. Okay.
After Jokic,
And then let's see, DeJounte Murray.
Very nice. Okay. Where else are we at here? DKGPP Ice, Bam, Grant, Suggs, or Jokic, Cam Johnson, and Reed. This is REID, not REED.
Nas Reed. The first one, I just concerned about Nas Reed's minutes a little bit. They've been coming down the last couple games. So,
gotcha. Okay. Who are you more comfortable playing, Theo or Champagne?
Theo, definitely for me.
God, I'm so in on this 3K starter for the Spurs, and I'm so screwed.
Well, no, he's definitely viable. But I mean, who
Yeah.
am I more comfortable playing? It's definitely Theo.
Yeah.
But it's
All
not
right.
like he's yeah.
DK Cash straight up, Tim Markkinen or Kyrie, and who is the greater risk of busting? Which I guess is truly the cash question, anyways.
Yes, I guess Kyrie's a better play for cash.
Okay. FanDuel Cash 2v2. Tim, you want Embiid and Cliff Paul or Jokic and Lowry?
I guess Cliff Paul.
It's Chris Paul.
Chris
Come
Paul.
on, the commercial, the insurance
Oh,
commercials.
Okay, so it's Embiid. Yeah,
Chris Paul.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
right,
Paul Embiid one.
Okay, all right. Cliff Paul.
I just heard. Yeah, I was very.
He was trying to make that be
Sorry.
two people, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you. All right. Gamble says, hey, anybody else? So you scared of Sharp? He gets 40 minutes, but isn't doing much with them.
I mean, you can't play tournaments scared. I know that the ceiling is immense, and it's a great matchup, and so I have him. Could he bust? Absolutely. The price is uncomfortable for what he's been doing recently, but the ceiling is great.
Yeah. Okay. FanDuel GPP, your favorite stud outside of Embiid and Jokic, and this does bring up a good point. I feel like you guys keep saying, I want Embiid or Jokic, and maybe everyone is going to have Embiid or Jokic. Where else? Like, what other studs are you looking at? I mean, you mentioned DeJounte because he's in a great spot, but what about big spend ups, Ice?
SGA is probably my favorite. I do like Anthony Davis a decent amount. Didn't talk about the Memphis guys at all. Either Bane and Triple J always have ceiling. You can definitely play them in this matchup too.
Yeah,
and I think we've gone the whole show and nobody said anything about Luka.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
So,
I literally have zero, which is
literally
scary.
we haven't had one question, and Keith and I have not brought it up one time. So yeah, I mean, Luka is definitely like the contrarian spend up guy.
It flips your whole build because there's so much value at guard that if you're spending up there, it literally just changes everything.
While we're on the Memphis stuff, or I just brought that up, I see Flying Armbar has a question about Jacob Gilliard, who's been starting at point guard at guard for Memphis. Love that play tonight. Didn't mention him, but yes.
Nice. Okay. The last time we mentioned the Memphis guys, I said that Desmond Bane isn't a dog, and he defers. He absolutely went off. He had like 60 fantasy points. It's like, cool. I'm gonna shut my mouth now and just go back to being a weatherman. Let's see. DK Cash, Jokic, Paul, or Embiid, Porter?
It's Embiid, Porter for me, but they're both great.
DKGPP, Mays, Aaron Gordon. I'm sorry, Mays or Aaron Gordon. I already have Jokic, Ice.
Aaron Gordon for me. Love him tonight.
I like this little emoji. We got smash that like button with the hammer and the sirens. This is very nice. Smash that like button for us. Free content. We need eyeballs to keep it free, and to get eyeballs, we need likes and subscribes. So do indeed smash that like button for yourself, not for us. FanDuel in single entry, Grant or Sharp? Who's got the better matchup, Ice?
I don't generally look at like position by position matchup. I would say it is probably Sharp with Collins there for Utah. Sharp has the better matchup, I think.
Okay. I have to jump to this question that in the YouTube. This can't be a real person. It can't be. but I'm going to read it.
It's a real person.
Rukin says, any chance Leaky Black gets extra run tonight for the Hornets? Parentheses, yes, Roth, that's a real guy. I don't believe you, but if it is a real guy.
We haven't projected for 13 minutes. Yes, of course there is a chance, but I don't think it's very likely.
Not on this slate with 10 games.
Yeah,
and a ton of value, right?
I wouldn't bother with that on this slate. But there is a chance he gets more than 13 minutes.
And if you can win a tournament with Leaky Black, then like it just elevates the whole night, you know.
But I mean, there's no reason to play him.
Just an amazing name. All right, let's see what else we got. FanDuel Cash from NBA DFS: Sharp, PJ Washington, or Keontae George and Butler.
What was the first one?
It was Sharp, PJ Washington versus Keontae and Butler.
I think it's the first one.
Okay, FanDuel Cash, Tim: Mays, Cam Johnson, or Olynyk and Kyrie?
I don't really want to play Olynyk in cash, so I guess the first one.
Okay, FanDuel GPP: Ice, Keontae and Thompson, or Daniels and Richardson?
Don't think I can play Daniels with her back, so first one.
Okay, Marble says, better straight up DK Cash play Bam or Maxey?
I think it's Maxey.
Okay. Chinatown says, DK Cash is not playing DeJounte an option, or am I lighting my money on fire?
I wouldn't go that far, but I would recommend playing him, but I guess you don't absolutely have to.
Okay, wonderful. Yep, that's me. Says DK GPP, Ice, Vassell, or CP3 last piece. I don't have enough CP3. I feel like everyone should have more CP3.
Yeah, I like both of those guys, but I think CP3 has a pretty big ceiling here tonight. He could score more than we're used to seeing.
Yeah. MT Red Sox says, what are your thoughts on Reggie Jackson tonight? This is clearly a GPP build here. I think a more balanced build, avoiding some cheap chalk, might be a good way to be different in DK tournaments.
Didn't consider him once. What is the price? 4,900. It's pretty cheap.
53 on DK.
Oh, DK. Yeah, I was looking at FanDuel.
Yeah, but yeah, I think he's a fine tournament play.
Yeah. Okay. Michael says, DK GPP, and my nuts are playing Bam over Jokic and Embiid. I don't think you're crazy to pick those.
Bam's an awesome play tonight.
Yeah, Bam's a really, really strong GPP play.
Very nice. Okay. Hoosier says, yeah, mid-tier build is not going to be popular, which is so different than where I feel like all season I've been locked into these mid-tier builds because we haven't had a big value slate. And here it is.
We have a lot more value tonight.
Yeah, we finally got like one of my kind of builds. DK GPP, McGowan's or Moody? I saw another Moody question earlier too. McGowan's or Moody?
Digging deep here. Neither are projected to do much, but I could see either one of them getting more run than is projected. So I get your line of thinking there. I think Moody has more upside. Neither are in good matchups, but Moody if forced to choose.
Okay. Hoosier says, hey, I haven't heard a lot of Wemby talk. I'm watching the game, so we've got to have Wemby. Can you do a Wemby Chet and just hope that they just go at it all night and just is that crazy?
Because it's fun and you're watching the game, you have to. They're probably slightly negatively correlated, but yeah. I mean, for entertainment purposes, yes.
Yeah. All right. Good. Because that's what I did. Because I'm like, I haven't been this excited for a basketball game all season, I don't think. So very, very pumped for that. With that, I think we can bounce on out of there. A few people giving thanks in the chat. No, thank you. We're going to get on out. So for Tim, for Ice, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.